Well, hello, welcome to another story time. Now, I'm reading my story today especially for a wonderful little boy called Oscar, who's in Surrey in England, and he lives with his baby brother Elliot. So hello, Oscar. Hello, baby Elliot. And I hope you're both well today. Now, I know Oscar loves playing games, and I also know that Oscar loves Winnie-the-Pooh. So I found a Winnie-the-Pooh book, and this one is called Pooh Invents a New Game. Now that's fun when you get a new game, isn't it? So reading this one especially for you, Oscar, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, one day, as Pooh was walking towards the wooden bridge which crosses the river, he was trying to make up a piece of poetry about fir cones, because there they were, lying about on each side of him, and he felt singy. He wanted to sing. So he picked a fir cone up and looked at it, and said to himself, "This is a very good fir cone, and something ought to be done with it." But he couldn't think of anything. And then this came into his head suddenly. "Here is a mystery about a little fir tree. Owl says it's his tree, and Kangas says it's her tree." Which doesn't make sense, said Pooh, because Kanga doesn't live in a tree. He had just come to the bridge, and not looking where he was going, he tripped over something, and the fir cone jerked out of his paw and into the river. "Bother," said Pooh, as it floated slowly under the bridge, and he went back to get another fir cone which had a rhyme to it. But then he thought that he would just look at the river instead, because it was a peaceful sort of day. So he lay down and looked at it, and it slipped slowly away beneath him, and suddenly there was his fir cone slipping away too. "That's funny," said Pooh. "I dropped it on the other side of the bridge, and it came out on this side. I wonder if it would do it again." And he went back for some more fir cones. It did. It kept on doing it. Then he dropped two in at once, and he leaned over the bridge to see which of them would come out first. And one of them did, but as they were both the same size, he didn't know if it was one which he wanted to win or the other one. And that was the beginning of a game called Pooh Sticks, which Pooh invented, and which he and his friends used to play at the edge of the forest. But they played with sticks instead of fir cones, because sticks were easier to mark. Now, one day, Pooh and Piglet and Rabbit and Roo were all playing Pooh Sticks together. They had dropped their sticks in when Rabbit said go, and then they had hurried across to the other side of the bridge, and now they were all leaning over the edge, waiting to see whose stick would come out first. "I can see mine," said Roo. "No, I can't. It's something else." "Can you see yours, Piglet?" "I thought I could see mine, but I couldn't." "There it is." "No, it isn't." "Can you see yours, Pooh?" "No," said Pooh. "Mine's a sort of greyish one," said Piglet, not daring to lean too far over in case he fell in. Well, that's pretty smart. "Yes, that's what I can see. It's coming over onto my side." Rabbit leaned over further than ever, looking for his, and Roo wriggled up and down, calling, "Come on, stick, 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 stick." And Piglet got very excited, because his was the only one which had been seen, and that meant he was winning the stick race. "It's coming," said Pooh. "Are you sure it's mine?" squeaked Piglet excitedly. "Yes, because it's grey, a big grey one. Here it comes, a very big grey—" "Oh no, it isn't. It's Eeyore." And out floated Eeyore. "Eeyore?" cried everybody. Looking very calm and very dignified, with his legs in the air, came Eeyore from beneath the bridge. "It's Eeyore," said Roo, terribly excited. "Is that so? said Eeyore, getting caught up by a little eddy and turning slowly around 3 times. I wondered. I didn't know you were playing, said Roo. I'm not, said Eeyore. Eeyore, what are you doing here, said Rabbit. I'll give you 3 guesses, Rabbit. Digging holes in the ground? Wrong. Leaping from branch to branch of a young oak tree? Wrong. Waiting for somebody to help me out of the river? Right. Give Rabbit time and he'll always get the answer. But, Eeyore, said Pooh in distress, what can we, how shall we? Do you think if we... Yes, said Eeyore, one of those would be just the thing. Thank you, Pooh. There was a moment's silence while everybody thought, I've got an idea. A sort of an idea, said Pooh at last, but I don't suppose it's a very good one. I don't suppose it is either, said Eeyore. Go on, Pooh, said Rabbit. Let's have it. Well, if we all threw stones and things into the river on one side of Eeyore, the stones would make waves, and the waves would wash him to the other side. That's a very good idea, said Rabbit, and Pooh looked happy again. Very, said Eeyore. When I want to be washed, Pooh, I'll let you know. But Pooh had got the biggest stone he could carry. He was leaning over the bridge, holding it in his paws. I'm not throwing it, I'm dropping it, Eeyore, he explained. And then I can't miss. I can't hit you. Could you stop turning around for a moment, because it muddles me rather. No, said Eeyore, I like turning around. Pooh dropped his stone. There was a loud splash, and Eeyore disappeared. And then, just as Pooh was beginning to think that he must have chosen the wrong day for his idea, something grey showed for a moment by the river bank, and it got slowly bigger and bigger, and at last it was Eeyore coming out. With a shout, they rushed off the bridge and pushed and pulled at him, and soon he was standing among them again on dry land. Oh, Eeyore, you are very wet, said Piglet, feeling him. Eeyore shook himself and asked somebody to explain to Piglet what happened when you had been inside a river for quite a long time. How did you fall in? Eeyore asked Rabbit as he dried him with Piglet's handkerchief. I was bounced, said Eeyore. Ooh, said Roo excitedly. Did somebody push you? Somebody bounced me. I was just thinking by that side of the river, thinking if any of you know what that means when I received a loud bounce. Oh, Eeyore, said everybody. But who did it? Asked Roo. Eeyore didn't answer. I expect it was Tigger, said Piglet nervously. But Eeyore, said Pooh, was it a joke or an accident? I didn't stop to ask, Pooh. Even at the very bottom of the river, I didn't stop and say to myself, is this a hearty joke? Or is this the merest accident? I just floated to the surface and said to myself, it's wet, if you know what I mean. And where was Tigger? Asked Rabbit. Before Eeyore could answer, there was a loud noise behind them, and through the hedge came Tigger himself. Hello, everybody, said Tigger cheerfully. Hello, Tigger, said Roo. Rabbit became very important suddenly. Tigger, he said solemnly, what happened just now? Just when? Said Tigger a little uncomfortably. When you bounced Eeyore into the river. I didn't bounce him. You bounced me, said Eeyore gruffly. I didn't really. I had a cough, and I happened to be behind Eeyore, and I said, that's what I call bouncing, said Eeyore, taking people by surprise. Very unpleasant habit. I didn't bounce. I coughed, said Tigger crossly. Bouncy or coffee, it's all the same at the bottom of the river. Well, said Rabbit, all I can say is, well, here's Christopher Robin, so he can say it. Christopher Robin came down from the forest to the bridge, feeling all sunny and careless, and just as if twice 19 didn't matter a bit, as it didn't on such a happy afternoon. It's like this, Christopher Robin, began Rabbit. Tigger, all I did was coughed, said Tigger. He bounced, said everyone. Well, I sort of boffed, said Tigger. Hush, said Rabbit, holding up his paw. What does Christopher Robin think about it all? That's the point. Well, said Christopher Robin, not quite sure what it was all about. I think... Yes, said everybody. I think we all ought to play Pooh Sticks. So they did. And Eeyore, who had never played it before, won many more times than anybody else. And Roo fell in twice, the first time by accident and the second time on purpose, because he suddenly saw Kanga coming from the forest, and he knew he'd have to go to bed anyhow. So then Rabbit said he'd go with them, and Tigger and Eeyore went off together, because Eeyore wanted to tell Tigger how to win at Pooh Sticks, and Christopher Robin and Pooh and Piglet were left on the bridge by themselves. For a long time they looked at the river beneath them, saying nothing, and the river said nothing too, for it felt very quiet and peaceful on this summer afternoon. Tigger's all right, really, said Piglet lazily. Of course he is, said Christopher Robin. Everybody is, really, said Pooh. That's what I think, said Pooh. But I don't suppose I'm right, he said. Of course you are, said Christopher Robin. Everybody's all right. Everybody's good and kind and doing their best. So that was Winnie-the-Pooh inventing a new game. It was quite an adventure, wasn't it? People falling into rivers, people playing with sticks, and Christopher Robin coming along. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Story Time. Bye-bye.